Today on Further Every Day, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break from some of the more historical opening content that we usually do, looking at the founding documents. Next week, we're going to pick up with the Mayflower Compact. But this week, we're going to take a little bit of a break, deal with some of the cultural issues, and then we're going to do some Reddit relationship advice, some Am I the A-holes? We're going to talk to some of those poor lost souls over on Reddit and some of the stranger things. And if you say, hey, if they're on Reddit, are they really lost? Is that what you're saying? No, I'm just saying they're poor and lost because I read their posts. And we're going to have some fun. So it's a bit of a relaxed day today, but Jonathan Fiala for Further Every Day sitting here. And to my right, I got Miss Nikki. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Glad to be there. In the chair of theology, yours truly sitting in the chair of philosophy, dealing with how we think. And then to the left, in our chair of cultural apologetics, we got Charlie. How's it going?
Greetings. Happy Sunday.
Glad to have you here. And then to his left, we got Steve in the chair of politics.
Right on. Right on.
And of
right
course,
on. And of course, politically incorrect.
Always. And then we got
Always.
Rai, the producer guy, producing as always. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Glad. Hello.
I
What?
slurred.
What?
I'm sorry.
Wow. Are you having a stroke, Mr. Producer? Shh. Okay. I just need to. Peter
I slurred.
Piper.
I'm sorry.
Can you say Peter Piper for me? Peter Piper picked?
Peter Piper picked.
Okay.
That was
Close
good.
enough. He's not having a
I
stroke.
should have done my
Okay.
vocal warm-ups before.
It was
You should have
just
done
a
that.
short
It's
stroke.
Yeah, okay. So with that said, this week we're gonna do a little bit of news, and then we're gonna get into some of the fun stuff because we just wanted 1 week that was gonna be a little bit off. We should do a meme review. No one here sent memes, so in this group. So we're gonna ask you guys to send us your memes. If you have them, put them in the chat or put them at Further Every Day on YouTube or Rumble or anywhere podcasts are found. And we'll respond to them probably around late July. We're going to do another meme review, but we are going to do some Reddit reading, which is always fun. Speaking of Reddit quality culture, Nala Ray is now speaking at TPUSA this year for the Women's Leadership Summit.
Is that toilet paper?
Turning point.
Turning Point, USA.
Muting Steve.
Charlie Kirk.
Man, I was just wondering.
So-
it's like TP. I mean,
Well, their
you know,
name is starting to have less value. We'll say it that way.
that's why I was asking.
Charlie Kirk is an interesting fellow, and I think he's doing some good stuff. But he's made some calls that I don't know. I'm gonna be careful. Charlie Kirk is a force in the culture for good. He's done a really good job on a lot of things. So
Agreed.
I want to be cautious, maligning someone who is definitely had more cultural impact than I have, and they've done some good stuff. And I want to start off. We're going to talk about Nala Ray today. I want you to understand exactly where we're coming from. Someone who has done OF, they've done content on the camera with other people in marital relationships outside of the marriage bed, if you understand what I'm saying, sex work for the camera. Those people, we should welcome them when they convert. We should be kind to them when they convert. However, let's kind of break down our biblical case for why we have an issue of what's happening right now. And we see this happening across the conservative movement right now. And it speaks to a broader issue of what we're concerned about. It's not that these people can't be Christians. They absolutely can. It's how do we as a church structure ourselves? How do we as a conservative movement structure ourselves? Are we going to be acting in a way that is in accordance with godly values? And if you say, I'm a conservative, but I'm not Christian, God bless you. What are you conserving? What are you conserving? Christian moral principles that are traditional. So let's go ahead and break it down. I do want to go ahead and give Nala a fair shake. We're going to start off. This is with her video in December of 2023. Mr. Producer, cut one, please. So I think this is a beautiful thing. You're watching someone who is a self-proclaimed cheater, liar, and thank you, and woman who is basically a woman of ill repute coming to Christ and then making a public confession of her change. I think that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it should be. Some people say, "Oh, you're putting on Instagram." Where's her business? Where is her life? Okay, so noted. She's doing a good thing there.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
don't. Anyone who says that she shouldn't be putting her baptism on public display, what is a baptism?
It is a public display.
Absolutely.
It's an absolutely public display.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
That's the purpose of the baptism. It's
Correct.
it's a symbol of the confession and profession of one's faith to Christ, showing that they're dying to their old ways and they're coming up with in the new ways.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say with new ways, but they're coming
Correct.
up in the new ways.
Correct. So I just want to be really careful what we're saying here. This is a woman who has been on OnlyFans, who's done all this other work, and now she's coming to Christ. Some people want to poke at that. I'm not poking at the Instagram baptism. I'm not poking at any of that. That's all good.
This is a wonderful thing.
We want to
Yeah.
see more of this.
Praise
This is good.
This is great to see this happening.
So once she came out, now she was on the Whatever podcast, and actually, Mr. Producer, could you look up for me real quick? I'm going to throw you a curveball. Could you look up for me on the show computer? Pull me up a short clip. I want to find a short clip from the Whatever podcast, because I should have put this in there. Nala says she lies on the Whatever podcast, and so she's been on the Whatever podcast with Brian and Andrew Wilson multiple times, and she's been on there before her conversion and after. Before her conversion, she literally said, I'm gonna censor this a little bit. I get off on cheating. I get a carnal pleasure out of cheating. It helps me physically get off to cheat on my lover. So that's what she started with, and that's been her public statement before her baptism. So, Mr. Producer, I don't know if you have that clip ready. How long
believe
is it?
so.
How long is it? Is it a short?
This is 10:47.
Okay.
I'd have to search through the video. For
Yeah.
that,
So just
but-
so just scrub through real quick. All that to say, this person has a reputation,
Okay.
and they need to live a life that shows some change. Now, Michael Knowles brought her on, and actually, I'm going to have you for just a moment put up cut number 2 in just a second, Mr. Producer. Michael Knowles brought her on to his show to speak to some allegations, including the allegation that she had maintained after her conversion. This is in February of 2024. She's baptized in February 2023. By the way, that same month, just before her baptism, she was at OnlyFans Creators Inc. conference promoting this
I
lifestyle.
usually avoid internet drama,
Come on.
including when it involves
Sorry, slow internet.
Give me cut 2. It'll be this.
me because I think it's mostly kind of silly and stupid and doesn't deserve a response. However, this little piece of internet drama, which involves at least my
See if you can pause that other one. You got something else playing, bud. See if you can pause the other one.
show, I think
One
good?
plays the other.
Yeah, so just put cut 2 up. There we go.
I haven't looked into it, happily. But people
Internet
say
here's been
you
messing
kept
up.
your OnlyFans site up.
Yeah, so Jordan can shed some light on this too. So what happened in the beginning was when I had told him originally I'm deleting my OnlyFans, I had full intent to delete my OnlyFans. I even showed him we were right next to each other when I pushed the delete button back in like January. So many subscribers, OnlyFans won't allow you to close your account until every single subscriber, like they physically have to push the button. But what they don't know is that people sometimes OnlyFans. So I am still waiting for the site to be completely shut down. However, you can't do anything. I can't even log in anymore. Everything's deleted off the site. There's no price. OnlyFans has disabled the site, but it's not down yet, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's in response to, and someone in the comment section, by the way, if you are watching one of our regular listeners, hundreds of thousands of downloads on the audio, anywhere you can find podcasts, thank you. YouTube, Rumble, you can always find us at PSB live on Sundays, 1 to 3 Central Standard Time, God's time zone. But someone asked, who is she? Again, I'll say this is Nala Ray. This is someone who has been doing adult content and perverse content, okay? And now she's being accused, okay, but you didn't bring down your OnlyFans. her response is, and by the way, now it is down. Until the subscriptions stop, OnlyFans will continue to keep
Right.
the content up. By the way, I just want to say that is not in the informed consent paradigm that OnlyFans gives their content creators.
I was going to say that's kind of underhanded by OnlyFans.
When you're told that it's empowering to do OnlyFans, and that it's something that is giving the woman the power, who really owns it? The virtual pimp.
That's
I
right.
was going to say they do.
Yeah.
The virtual pimp still owns it.
Yep.
So with that said, and look, I think that this woman coming to Christ, she's made a profession of faith. She's coming to Christ. She has a powerful testimony that needs to be shared. My problem is not with the testimony. It's not with the internet saying, I'm coming out, I'm a Christian. It's not even the fact that she still dresses provocatively. Look, she has changed her look significantly, and she's significantly less provocative than she used to be. Okay? That's not what we're saying. We don't have any problems there. Our question mark, the first question mark raised is this one, cut number 3. She has continued to run on a subscription model. And for those of you on audio, here's a screenshot from her website. I took it last night. $50 a month to get Christian counseling. Per course, $15, $25, $50 per month recurring to get a course. Now, thank you, Mr. Producer. Teachers need to make money. Okay? Pastors need to make money. I understand that. But $50 a month for a course on the anointed path. I'm not saying, I'm going to be careful what I say, other than this is, I'm not saying a lot of people will say she's a grifter. Maybe. At the very minimum, should this person be leading? Should this person be leading the church?
What qualification does she have
To teach.
to teach? Plus, what qualification does she have to give these people this type of advice
How
when
long?
she has done nothing but done an OnlyFans
Yes, but-
cheat?
Well, also bring out her past. She was raised in a Christian home. Her
She was
dad is
raised-
a pastor. So, with that in mind, let me share this with you. My
Counterpoint.
husband and I have raised 5 children. And when our children got to be adults, not all of them followed the same path that we wanted them to follow, but they did come back to it. Now, all that teaching from their childhood still remains. So I don't know if she is the only teacher, or does she have other people come in to help with the teaching?
Primarily, it's her, is my understanding. I don't own the course. I'm not paying $50 a month.
I'm trying to be a devil's advocate here, because
Someone needs to be.
Where's she getting the materials from? And we have to be careful, because we got to go back to Paul, who persecuted Christians.
Yep.
And then he went out to be a teacher, and even the disciples were like,
But
What about
Paul
this?
was taught by Jesus for how many years?
I know.
Or for how long?
And so there's 3 or 4 things. So let's separate these. Mm-hmm. First thing. I'm not going to deal with should women teach at all. I'm not going to even deal with that. We're going to get to the scripture in just a moment. I'm going to set that one on the shelf for right now. Okay. I'm just going to put that on the shelf for the moment. We will come back to this. I'm not going to deal with the fact that you were just eating the Five Guys menu. That's what she was famous for. Okay. What originally set her off was getting gangbanged, railed by multiple men. I'm going to put that off to the side. I'm not even going to deal with that right now. We'll deal with it. Well, we're going to get to the scripture in a little bit, but how long do you need to be under the tutelage, under the learning of God before you are teaching? That is a good question, and there's not a specific date on it.
No.
But 18 months. 18 months is a question, and so I'm going to put that on the shelf. We're going to deal with that in just a minute. Okay, so I've got 3 things on the shelf. What I'm going to pull out right now is $50 a month per course, between $15 and $50 on a recurring payment on your credit card.
How about
This woman
doing nothing?
This woman has just come out of this. And look, I'm not even saying that maybe she has good intentions. Maybe her mindset is still on money and she can come out of this. But what did Paul do? You brought up Paul, and is the perfect case study. What did Paul do in his ministry? How is Paul supported?
He worked a separate job.
He was a
tent
He was
maker.
well,
We call it a tent maker missionary when they are a lay pastor or a lay worker, and they are providing. How much money does this woman have? She was making $300,000 a month. Now, maybe she's all out of that.
I was going to say, I'm not sure she has any.
If she, man, how do you blow that much money?
Oh, it's very
it's
easy.
I mean,
It-
come on.
You can do it in a second.
Yeah.
And someone, again, in the live chat, they're asking, so this woman's a former corn star? Yes. And why are we talking about her? Because Turning Point USA is putting her out there as one of the conservative Christian leaders.
No.
That's where we're saying, if she was just going home and going to church with her new husband, and they were just living a quiet life, I would say nothing other than God bless you. You know, if you want to share your testimony from time to time, I think that's a beautiful thing. There are women who need to hear this. There are women who need to come out of this, and God's done a powerful work in your life. I believe that your testimony is not for you, it's for everyone else. And she has this wonderful opportunity to be used by God to reach people who are in some of the darkest places. Agreed. But what does the Bible say about leadership? Why are we putting her? And there's a reason we're talking about this. And I really wanted this, wanted to do a kind of a fun variety show exclusively. But two things: Elon Musk and Trump and Nala. Those are the two big things, and they are related with the way that the conservative tent, conserving what? I'm not a Christian, you say. You might tell me, but I'm a conservative. What are you conserving? The Christian conservative values, the biblical values that built the West. That's what we're ultimately, the Protestant work ethic, the idea, the drive that grew this nation, okay, in a fast amount of time. Very, very short time, America became a world superpower. Why? Because of these core principles that we wish to conserve, okay? By the way, some people will say, ultimately liberal principles of liberty. Liberalism, you could define it that way. You could define it as the left. I'm not going to get into that, but we're conserving those values, the principles of liberty in Christ. And now that we're winning, what do we want to do? We want to start to grab the people who have come along and become part of the coalition, and we want to put them at the forefront to get more people. The problem with that is, who really gave us the victory? Who really gave us the victory? Was it Elon Musk? Was it
No.
Nala Ray and the Gen Z? Did Gen Z becoming more conservative, is that really what won us a coalition in the government? Is that going to save us come midterms? No. So what gain do we have cut for, Mr. Producer, by putting people like this at the head of the conservative movement? This is a screenshot from TPUSA's lineup for their Conservative Women's Summit. Okay, and you see on the top left, you see Nala Ray. I have no problem with this woman speaking. Thank you, Mr. Producer. I have no problem with her being out there, but why is she teaching? Why is she teaching?
I think this goes to an important point for all of us. There's two things here. You're nailing a good one. But the other one is, who are we getting our teaching from? As a consumer, who am I looking to? And I think for many in today's culture, especially young people, they do not understand the importance of vetting out their sources, and they're taking information, building knowledge, quote unquote, and they're building it off the wrong sources. They're not building it off sources of truth. They're not building it off sources of integrity, and they're not building it off sources of consistency. So I think when it comes to Nala Ray teaching, in and of itself, I do not have an issue with her teaching, so long as she has that knowledge. If she were quote unquote newly saved, I'm not saying she is or is not, I'm not here to question that. In terms of teaching, what do you have? Do you have knowledge that you can teach? Because at the end of the day, God has commanded all of us to go and make disciples. What do you need in order to do that? Well, you probably ought to start with some knowledge. And if you don't have knowledge, then you probably are not in a position to be doing teaching yet. Now, with Nikki's point a moment ago, and I thought that was a really important point right there. And by the way, I'm not saying that 18 months is okay, even with that. But the fact that she's got knowledge from her upbringing, okay, that makes that more understandable. But here's the really big driver. Have I got to change life?
That's part of it.
And if I don't see change happening in her, why in the world would I want to take my knowledge from her?
So we can make all sorts of assumptions.
Yeah, I don't want to make any
about the pay model. Okay, I don't like the pay model.
I agree.
The fact that we're paying for the gospel,
not good.
That's concerning. If you're doing something that is specifically, it's hard to figure out where exactly a teacher should get paid and what that should be. And so I want to leave that for a different day, because there's an argument for or against. Where I really want to come down to is, where are the qualifications for teaching, and where's the submission underneath authority? And there is a church authority. And I think this is where we as a Christian body politic have really lost our way. The Catholics have something more or less right in this sense. There should be an order and a structure and an ecclesiology. I don't fully agree with the ecclesiology that the Catechism teaches and the way that they've structured it. I think that there's some issues. We could debate that, but there is a structure, and we do see some of that in Titus. So let's go to the Bible for a moment, because now I want to pick it off the shelf. Can you teach after you were in these positions? And the answer is complicated.
It is complicated.
The short answer is, you have a voice, you have a testimony, and you've been given that testimony, and you should use it. But let's go to the Word for just a minute. And again, we're talking about conserving Christian principles. So what exactly does the Bible say about this? What are the thoughts of the founding fathers? What are the thoughts of the folks who were actually writing the Bible? Well, Titus is a letter that Paul wrote to Timothy. Was kind of the weaker, younger acolyte of Paul. Titus was the one that Paul sent down to Crete, and Titus basically, like, he had it under wraps pretty well, but Paul sent him one letter at least, just to kind of encourage him. But he saw Titus almost as an equal at this point of the writing of this letter. So Titus 1:6, this is where we get a lot of our understanding of ecclesiology. This is going to be cut number 6, Mr. Producer. I believe 6. Yeah. No, 5. Titus 1:6. If anyone is above reproach, the husband of one wife, and his children are believers, and not open to the charge of debauchery or insubordination. Thank you, Mr. Producer. You read the whole text. We're talking about how to pick a deacon or a elder in this book. And Paul lays out 2 different standards. They're very similar. The one for an elder is a little bit tighter. But if anyone is above reproach, I'm not talking about people who are sharing their testimony. I'm not talking about people who are serving. I'm talking about how we pick leaders, people who are on the forefront, not the people we call on and say, this brother or sister has been through a lot and they have a very important testimony to share, and you should listen to what God has done in their life. I'm not saying that doesn't exist, because it does. It's necessary. But as a front and center leader of a ministry, Paul is speaking to Titus because at this point in the church, they are sending out, they're creating the church. And Paul is saying, if anyone is a man who's above reproach, the husband of one wife, we could make an inference from there. I'm not going to go down that road just at the moment, because we're going to talk about if a woman can be a teacher. They can, certain circumstances, and there is an order to this. We'll get to it in just a moment. But we're talking about people who are going to go and start churches. They're going to go start ministries. They're going to go into new cities, and they're going to preach the gospel. Do I want someone leading who has not successfully held the course? Because he is the husband of one wife. His children are believers, and they're not capable of being accused of debauchery or insubordination, because their lives have been transformed. And this man he's been under God's keeping, and his family, the fruit of what you see in this person's life is going to grow more positive fruit for the church. That's a high standard. By the way, not everyone in this room here, it's a hard standard. Okay. I am not claiming to even, I'm not even married. There's an argument that you should be married and have kids before you become a preacher. I think that that's a little bit harsh, but I think there's some value in it to an extent. I'm not sure it's biblical, but there's value to the thought that you should at least be a father and at least have to go through that. So arguably, Mr. Producer and I may not even qualify. I think we do, but we may not even qualify based on that standard. This is a high standard. Why is it so important to have a high standard for who's leading, not who's speaking, who's leading? Why is that critical?
Good roots. There we go. Good roots begets good fruit.
Correct.
That's the bottom line. And I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos on gardening and stuff like that. I'm really getting interested in it. And there's this one guy that I watch, and he talks about the importance of roots. The more roots you have, the more fruits you have. And you want good roots, and really good solid teaching is going to beget good fruit for the future. And you're not going to have that if it's wishy-washy, if it's lame, if it's weak, if it's corrupt. Can I say that? Mm-hmm. If it's corrupt. And I'm not, I want to be clear here. I'm not against Nala Ray. I don't even know her outside of what we're doing for this segment. But the one thing that I would hope is that she would be humble about what has happened in her past and look for the Lord to lead her into situations where it could be turned into good. Because there's other women out there like her that really want out of that. They don't want to be a part of that.
Correct.
And she could be a great force for the Lord to help women out of that.
Let me just say this too, is that her selling these courses, we don't really have a lot of information about these courses. We don't know if we don't know possibly if her mother and father really are the ones that designed this, or somebody in her family or somebody in her church life from previously have these courses, and they're going to use her name to get that out there. So there's and we don't even know if the course is going to be taught individually by her, or if she's a mediator and there'll be other people who are actually teaching the course.
I hope
so there's
I
a lot.
hope that rosy disposition is true.
But I'm just saying we don't know that. And those are options that we need to take.
That's a lot of money.
But I think that, I think the bigger point that you're going to, John Arthur, and this is the one where I really agree with you on this, and that is this: the Bible's not, the gospel's not for sale.
And so
it's not for sale.
Someone in the live chat, and I've been waiting to bring this up. They said, churches don't charge me to go
Amen.
in. They
Amen.
ask me for a donation. Okay, you could just as easily set up a donation model. Nala, if you see this, which I'm highly doubting you will, set up a donation model and save yourself a lot of trouble. So, like legitimately, we even haven't opened up here. We've talked about it, but we haven't even opened up here for a few reasons. We've thought about it because it does cost money to host a podcast. This is something that we've done for a long time. We haven't even opened that because we're a little bit tepid about the issue of even opening up to donations. And look, I'm not going to impose that on someone else, but now I'll open up to donations. It's going to be the easiest way, I think, to get off a lot of this suspicion if you're open to that, because there's an issue there. But I want to pull up the Bible a little bit more because remember I said we're going to put it on the shelf. Woman teacher, we haven't gotten to female teachers yet. You were just being railed on camera. Okay, I want to bring up another cut. And there's a reason the Bible does this. There's a reason God did this in the Bible. This is going to be cut number 9, Mr. Producer. 1 Timothy 3:6 says this: he must not be a recent convert, or he may become puffed up with conceit and fall into the condemnation of the devil. And if you look at the way that she has reacted, by the way, Andrew Wilson is a very harsh man. Andrew Wilson is a very harsh man. However, and we're having internet issues, guys. Otherwise, I would have asked Mr. Producer to go ahead and pull this out. She was corrected multiple times by Andrew Wilson and by Mrs. Wilson. Both times, she would not take it on its merit. She became insulted, and she started to argue with it on an ad hominem basis. Not on. And by the way, Andrew Wilson and his wife also. I love them. I think they're awesome. I think they're doing some good stuff in the culture. They also reacted with ad hominem. Shame on them. That was bad. So all of this makes us as Christians, it puts a bad light on the Lord.
Yes.
When you have someone who reacts to correction and proof, not saying, let me take you back to the scripture. No. I'm going to argue with you, and I'm going to specifically start to attack you personally. So we need to be careful that we don't do that. You should not be a recent convert and be a teacher. For those very reasons, you should not recently have been in a sinful lifestyle and a teacher. That doesn't mean you don't get to share your testimony.
And testimonies are very powerful.
It's more
Very
powerful than
powerful.
teaching in some ways.
It is. A testimony is a very powerful tool.
So all of that to say, we're not. And by the way, someone says you haven't mentioned her name. Someone says in the chat, Nala Ray. I've said it about
20 times.
8 times, 12 times, something. He says 20 times. Nala Ray. It doesn't sound like a real name, okay? Nala, like the animal from The Lion King, and then Ray as in Ray Stevens, okay?
Ray Charles.
R.I.P.
Ooh.
Ray Charles.
Yeah.
Where's my
So
sunglasses?
with that say, R.A.Y. And you can look her up. Interesting character. Maybe a good work going on from the Lord, but we need to be careful that we don't adopt these people as thought leaders.
John Arthur, the thing like a person like that, with what she has in her past and the way she's working to move forward, and the way she's in her present, she is working to move forward.
Yep.
Because she's a new Christian, and there's a lot for her to work at.
Correct.
She's got a lot to unpack.
Yep.
Because she's got a lot of
Baggage.
things, exactly, from what went on in her life. She could easily have a ministry of being a speaker and talking about what she has gone through and talk about it and the way she got out of it, and talk to other women and young women about the bondage it creates.
And that would be a very strong ministry for her to be able to, because
And it's
she's-
commanded.
yes, and she does have a ministry, and she does have a powerful ministry because she's been very wealthy, if you're making $300,000 a month, you've been very popular. And now that you've come to Christ and she is what young girls want to be: beautiful, popular, wealthy. And so she does have a very powerful ministry.
Correct.
But I think, I wouldn't take a course, a $50 a month course. But like I said, I don't want to condemn it because I don't know what the substance behind it is. I don't know if it's
caution. There's room for caution.
Yes,
It raises a bell and for alarm. And I just want to bring that up. And I want to say that we don't want these people to become our thought leaders.
I think that's the point. That's a good point.
And that's where I'm coming from, because there's a lot of confusion on this. And I was actually listening to Stephen Crowder this week, and they incorrectly, by the way, reported, and it was something that was coming from the control room. Someone says she went to the OnlyFans conference right after her baptism. And I said, whoa. She went to a conference to promote this after her baptism. Then she is a grifter. That was my thought. I did my own research because they're in a live reporting room and they said, hey, we just found this. This looks like it was done right after. The video that they were looking at was posted later than the conference was. It was a few days later she had her baptism. So guys, be careful what you believe online about people. Okay.
Yeah, because that actually opened them up to legal issues.
Because even well-meaning people have an issue there. But like we were saying, there is a mandate from God for her, I believe, to start a ministry.
Yeah.
And we see that in Titus.
Everything on the internet's true.
Well, that's true. It's also up forever, even the mistakes that you make. And we try really hard to fact check what we're doing. I'm glad I was up to 2 a.m. prepping what was supposed to be an easy meme format because I was looking at those claims. So it looks like maybe she's genuine. But here, so I said again, we're going to put that on the shelf. Last thing we said we put on the shelf: can a woman teach? Titus 2:3-5. This is going to be cut number 8, Mr. Producer. Sorry to mix those up for you. Older women likewise are to be reverent in behavior. Interesting. Not slanderers or slaves to much wine. They are to teach what is good and to train the young women to love their husbands and children, to be self-controlled, pure, working at home, kind, and submissive to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be reviled. You got to remember, the Greco-Roman culture at the time of Titus, they were falling into the Jezebel spirit hardcore. You had a very similar movement to the feminist movement. What we didn't want to see is women who were rebelling against God's order. We also don't want to see men beating their wives. We don't want to see men ignoring their wives, neglecting their wives, being un-Christ-like. The man is supposed to be like Christ, and the woman is supposed to be like the church, reaping all the benefits of Christ, submitting to him. The man is supposed to lay down his life, give up all of the fun things, all the things that he would wish to do to serve his wife and children.
I have to watch chick flicks.
You have to watch chick flicks once in a while. Once in a while. Kind of a one for one. So with that said, I'm not against Nala Ray. And I don't think anyone in this room is.
Nope.
We all want her to, welcome to the family of God. I pray that your conversion is sincere and real. And I think there are a lot of people out there who would like nothing more than to see her fail.
Yes.
That's not what we're doing here.
Amen.
I want to be really clear. There's a lot of people who are excited. There are a lot of Christians, so-called, who are excited to watch her fail. We're saying, TPUSA, everyone else, be careful confusing someone who should be giving her testimony for a thought leader or someone who should be training young women. She should be involved in the training of young women, but she should not be the thought leader. She has to grow a lot. She has to, in the meantime, again, nothing against her. And none of this would come up if she wasn't selling online courses, trying to be a public speaker. And a lot of people are calling her a grifter. Maybe she is. I don't know. I hope not.
I think giving up $300,000 a month to sell a $50 a month course is a little bit different. But
that depends. No, that depends.
Okay.
And let me tell you why.
You can make a lot of money really fast on 50. That's my biggest issue.
Because you've got a following. Hang on here. When you've got a following like what she had, she's not only a provocative content creator, she has followers. What do followers do?
Follow.
Thank you. They follow.
And they come over to the new,
They come over to the new
which is
thing.
a two-edged sword.
Yes, it is. So the issue, I totally agree with John Arthur on this issue of, this isn't right. As I said earlier, the gospel is not for sale.
It shouldn't be commodified.
It should not be. And can I say this too, since I'm passing by it? Preachers shouldn't be commodifying it.
I think we should be very cautious.
Very
about
cautious.
what we monetize as Christians. We should be very cautious. And in all of this to say, whether she's grifting or not, this is our point. This kind of maneuver should not be. This maneuvering, this posturing, the selling of the gospel is one, just the way it's been done tells us that there's a lack of maturity and a lack of thoughtfulness. Okay. We need to be careful who we let into the fold as a thought leader. I'm all for letting anyone. I am absolutely interested in being inclusive to the people. I am exclusive on ideas.
And I think the one area I would push back with what you've said up to this point, John Arthur, is this, and this is where I would agree with Nikki. We don't know what that content is that she's selling at $50 a month.
We don't know.
And she might not be, quote unquote, selling the gospel. She may be selling something that is leading them out of where she's been.
It could be a therapy.
Yeah.
But
so
she calls it the anointed path.
Yeah,
and
it's
all this
really
other-
weird.
It
is.
So don't like it. Don't like it. Don't like the idea. So just be cautious. And Kinsey Ray said, is anyone suggesting we pray for Nala? Right. That is the end of this segment. Pray for this woman.
Yes.
Pray for the folks at TPUSA. And pray for everyone who's listening and watching TPUSA this coming week for their Women's Leadership Summit.
I say we take a minute and do it right now.
Yeah, go ahead, Charlie.
Lord, thank you that there are people in our world that do lead, sometimes in ways that are wrong, and sometimes you grab their hearts, you pull them to you, you save them,
Yes.
and they can be used for your good. They can be great servants. Paul is a great example of that. So Lord, we don't come against Nala today. That's not what this is about. We want to be cautious and careful and walk circumspectly, and that's what we want her to do. Lord, I've believed for a long time now that we are all in a different place on our spiritual path, in our spiritual journey. We all have different levels of maturity. Lord, would you just guide her and direct her? May your Holy Spirit speak to her and guide her appropriately. We thank you, Lord, for your goodness. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So, same idea, new topic. For those of you who've been under a rock this week, Mr. Producer, can you pull up that YouTube video for us? There has been quite a shift in the first buddies paradigm.
First buddies.
We had the first lady,
The first
we had the
buddies.
first pooch, and we had the first buddy. And the first buddy is no longer at the White House. If
He's
you know
no
what I'm
longer a
talking about,
buddy.
We're talking about Elon Musk and Trump, if someone missed that. Go ahead and throw that up there.
Buddy.
Because it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad. The fallout from this is serious. And I think this also leads to a question. What is conservatism? And can Elon Musk and Trump reconcile? Let's think about that. Watch.
The bromance is definitely over. President Trump and Elon Musk erupted into a nasty public feud today.
I'm very disappointed in Elon. I've helped Elon a lot.
The extraordinary squabble happened before the eyes of the world as the president was meeting with the Chancellor of Germany in the Oval Office. He claims Musk has turned against him because the big, beautiful bill removes the tax credits for buying electric cars like Teslas.
I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here, better than you people. He knew everything about it. He had no problem with it. All of a sudden he had a problem. And he only developed the problem when he found out that we're going to have to cut the EV mandate.
Musk was listening and he responded in real time, basically calling Trump a liar. False. This bill was never shown to me even once, he declared on social media as Trump bashed him. Such ingratitude. Without me, Trump would have lost the election. The president says Musk has a case of Trump derangement syndrome.
I'll tell you, he's not the first. People leave my administration, they leave, and they wake up in the morning, and the glamour's gone, the whole world is different, and they become hostile.
You could see he looked visibly sad when talking about this fraying relationship with someone that he has viewed for so long now as a good friend of his.
The rift is reportedly so deep, Musk won't even take calls from the White House.
Members of Trump's team have reached out to Elon Musk. No response.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know well anymore. I was surprised.
Thank you, Mr. Producer. So I don't know what the real story is there. What I will say is some people are saying maybe they're playing all of us. That's possible. But I do think it's worth looking at what has gone back and forth before we say this is a calculated ploy. Mr. Producer, cut number 10, if you could throw that up there. Elon Musk showed up with a black eye at one of these press conferences. He body checked Secretary Scott Bessent like a rugby player during a fiery clash at the White House, says a report. Elon Musk aggressively body-checked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent in the White House after being called a fraud, igniting a fiery clash that sparked the billionaire's messy falling out with the president. The heated scuffle broke out in mid-April after both men had pitched rival plans for the Internal Revenue Service to Trump in the White House. Don't know what this is all about. Don't know exactly where this lines up. But I do think the black eye that we saw in some of these press conferences, and Trump even has alluded to that. We offered to put makeup on there, and he's like, no, it's fine, adds character. Musk has anger management issues, and he also has a ketamine issue. You guys know what ketamine is?
No.
It's a performance enhancing psychotropic. It's a drug.
Oh dear.
So it's something that boosts it. Yeah. So Musk is as an addiction to ketamine. Okay. Next cut, Mr. Producer, if you can pull up the next one for me. Musk recently, this is after that press conference, deletes his tweet claiming that Trump was, quote, in the Epstein files in the first sign of feud de-escalation. Next cut, Mr. Producer.
That initial claim was a bad move on his part.
This is the tweet. Elon was wearing thin, says Donald Trump. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars that nobody else wanted, that he knew for months that I was going to do, and he just went crazy. Elon Musk, time to drop the real bomb. At real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That's the real reason they haven't been made public. Have a nice day, Donald J. Trump. What did he just accuse Donald Trump of?
Yeah.
What Elon Musk said was true. Donald Trump is in the Epstein files.
Yeah.
Of course he's in the Epstein files. He was the first person who ever spoke against Epstein. He was the first public figure who was not an informant or an asset who spoke about Epstein. Of course he was. He kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. Do you think that's not in the files?
Here you go. If it were in the files that could hurt Trump, Biden would have had it pulled out a long time ago.
Hello? Anyone home?
And
Hello?
I didn't get that on my own thought. I was watching a podcast, and the guy said,
but it's true.
Biden has this information, and he would have used it to destroy Trump. So this
most
is,
definitely.
yeah. So he wasn't taking this too serious. I'm very disappointed. This is very childish. Now,
I always wondered. I always wondered if this was going to work out.
Well, here's the deal. First off, I think what Doge and Elon Musk have done a tremendous thing for the country, and I think this will continue. So he may be disappointed how things have turned out, but I think that his involvement and getting this started will continue. I really do. Another thing, he's upset about the EV mandates, understood, but is that any different than any other politician who has a friend that they want to give political
Oh, here's the best thing about this whole situation. Trump, the most powerful man in the world, has Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, in his office. Richest man in the world offers him, who has the dirt on Donald Trump for a number of different things that I don't think Trump is dirty, but Elon Musk could make a lot of pain for Trump. He could twist just like he just did.
He deleted that, by the way, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Too late. You don't unring the bell.
True.
Hey, Miss Nikki, I hate to bring it out, but Miss Nikki has done horrible things with children. If I said that legitimately, would you ever forgive me? I would have a hard time forgiving you.
I probably would forgive you because I would trust the Lord to protect my reputation. But
you know what I'm saying.
Here's the deal. This is how a pastor said this one time. When you go out and you spread things and you say things, it's like taking a pillow that has feathers inside and you go out and you shake it in the wind. Now you say, please forgive me. Well, now can you go collect all those feathers? They're gone. That's like an accusation. That accusation, even though he deleted it, which means he probably wish he hadn't said that.
He did it in a moment of anger.
He did it in a moment. He can never take that back. And we're going to have all these people who hate Trump or hate conservatives are going to come back to this over and over and over again.
I can't. I don't know about you, but look, if someone calls me a pedophile, and that's what Musk was doing, I'm going to have a hard time ever letting them into my inner circle.
Words can start wildfires.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, look, he just accused the president of the United States of America of colluding with the largest known serial pedophile ring in the world, in history. And he just accused him of it, having been given that opportunity by that said president to have access to the files where he would know. So I don't know if they're playing everyone, but I don't know about you guys, but I'd have a hard time coming back from that.
The first time, I'm sorry, Charlie, go ahead. You got to be fast.
She's
words
flowing today. So here's the thing with Musk that I try to remember. First of all, he's not a true conservative.
He never has been.
No.
He's a libertarian.
He is. You have to look at his worldview. He's very concerned about populations.
Yep.
That's why he has 14 kids. And yet,
totally
I thought that was a lack
than-
of self-control.
Totally different
Both.
than the other person. Though.
Yeah.
Ashley Sinclair is proof of no self-control. I'm sorry. She's a beautiful woman, but she's trouble. Anyway, keep going.
So there's that issue. The second thing, he does understand business. He does understand what you have to do in order to be, I'm going to say this, profitable.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the U.S. government supposed to be profitable? No. We're not even close to that, though. We're not even close to that.
We're in the
We should
toilet.
break even.
We're not even close to the edge on that issue.
We're in the toilet.
So if I were going to have a person to do something like that, would I allow an Elon Musk to take a whirl at that? Yes. Are there others that I would prefer to have that opportunity as well? Yes. Can you say Vivek Ramaswamy? I could easily go there with that kind of thing.
But you look
in this situation, he gave it to Musk, and Musk was the one that took the ball and ran with that.
Well, Ramaswamy dropped out. And do you really want to know why a lot of people believe Ramaswamy dropped out? This is not the reason he said. He said it was to work on his Ohio governor run, all that. Good on him. Both Elon and Ramaswamy are H-1B proponents. And so if you're not familiar with the H-1B visa issue, I'll give you a good example. One of my family members, I won't say who so I don't get her in trouble. One of my family members works at a company where they import via H-1B visas so many foreign individuals. They pay them less, and they're super happy to work for it, and they get to stay in America. They
Profitable.
They get a visa. It's super profitable for the company. Whereas there are Americans who could get those jobs. America First suggests H-1B visas should be on an as-needed only in a highly regulated basis, if at all.
Yes.
Tech oligarchs like Ramaswamy and like Elon Musk have a vested interest in H-1B visas. I am not against immigration. Now, maybe we need to stop it completely for a few months or a few years and try to figure out what the heck's going on. I am favorable to that idea. If that is yours, you and I are pretty close. But H-1B should be safe, legal, and rare. Anyway, they should be rare. Instead, what we have is a large glut of them. And it's the same argument. I'm sorry. You give the libs an inch, they'll take a mile. You allow them one H-1B, they'll take 1,000. And they pay these people much, much less than Americans. I think it is immoral. And that, along with the EV subsidies, which I get it. He built his business model around EV subsidies. Elon Musk did.
Yeah.
I understand you'd be pretty upset about that. I get it. But calling someone a pedo, you don't unring that bell.
And he could easily make back what he's, if he were to close up Tesla today, which he won't do, if he were to close it up today, he could easily make it
he's
back.
capable. He's more than capable. He's very intelligent.
I would say make it more affordable.
It's just not right
They're already
for
cutting
government to be making mandates to benefit a certain market.
Yep.
I mean, it's just not.
Correct. So all of that to say, those who are saying that Elon Musk should be a thought leader on the right, guys, he's a transhumanist. Until 5 minutes ago, he was pro-LGBT. Until 5 minutes ago, by the way, he was a Ron DeSantis supporter until the assassination attempt. Because after that, we all knew what Trump was going to be. I'm not going to attribute motive there to Elon. I'm not. But what I'm going to say is that I do not want him to be a conservative thought leader. I want him to have every opportunity to contribute, just like Nala Ray. But in the proper time and place and with the restraints. He's interested in the transhumanist agenda. Okay? And if you want to look up that dark rabbit hole, you run into a number of ethical dilemmas that get worse and worse. Do I think Neuralink is an amazing tool and it's doing great work? Yes, I do. I think there are paraplegics and quadriplegics that are doing very well. But one of the main thrusts behind that research, which I think is good research for Elon Musk, is ultimately you look at the transhuman movement. We want to move beyond the body into a pure software state. That is something that Elon Musk, that is where he wants to go. Again, I don't have anything against him, but should he be a thought leader? Like, are we conserving anything, or are we just seeking the next vote? Right now, we got a mandate for a return back to conservative norms this last election. Should we, as Christian conservatives, or as conservatives in general, start to dilute that as we get new members to the party who were formerly of the left? Or should we hold a straight line and say, I'm glad you're here. Welcome to the club. These are the principles. As you learn these principles and as you abide by these principles, they're traditional for a reason, because they're universally true. These universally true principles, you are welcome. And when you learn them and when you show them, you will naturally bubble up in some way, shape, or form in what's proper and right as a leader. But should we be taking these people and cramming them into leadership immediately? The Bible says no. Experience says no. If Elon is playing a long game with Trump and all of this is just an elaborate ruse, I don't believe it is.
No,
I don't believe
it's a pretty poor one if it is.
Trump would never. Trump's ego would never allow. I'm sorry, Trump has an ego. It's not that much of an ego to say that I wouldn't want to be called a pedo. Like, that's not even on an ego issue, because that was actually materially damaging to Trump. I don't think it is a ruse. I think it legitimate. There will be people who will, from now on for the rest of their lives, they'll say, because Elon said it, I don't like Elon, but because Elon said it, now I know that Trump was involved with Epstein and he was culpable. That will always be, there are people walking around in America today who they will die with that opinion. Elon cannot unring that bell. I'm not saying that we should, cast out Elon, never talk. That's not what I'm saying. But
he crossed a line.
You can forgive people, but you can't restore some things.
Yeah.
That doesn't change.
And if he thinks that, I'd be surprised. There's some that are predicting they'll reconcile this thing. I don't think it gets reconciled. I really don't. I think Elon took it way too far, and I think his response. And I'll say this: I didn't really appreciate the way that Trump responded either.
They
It's
both have an ego.
Yeah,
They both have an ego.
And you're right, and it's just childish stuff to be putting out in the public. You want to do that kind of thing? Do that in the back rooms. Do that on the phone. Do not do that on TV.
Typical of people
Or
that have a
social media.
lot of money.
Well, especially when you're very successful. Two things. A, you have to have a strong will to make that much money. You have to. You're either born into it or you willed to do certain things that were productive to get that money. So you have a strong willpower. You add that with a life of sycophantry around you, conceit, women, wine, and song. Yeah. Look, I love Donald Trump. I think he's a great president. He's just a human, though.
Yeah.
All of that could have been done better, but Elon was the aggressor, I believe. We need to be careful who we let in as our thought leaders.
I think in the end, Musk suffers more. I think the damage is more to him.
We'll see. None of it's good.
No.
None of it's good. So be in prayer for our president. Be in prayer for Elon Musk. I think he's going to be. I think Elon's going to be just fine. But I do not see this as a full restoration ever fully occurring. There's trust that's been permanently broken, and I think that's wrong.
Yep.
So, moving on to something lighter, we're gonna have a little bit of fun for a moment. We're gonna talk about a tsunami, a wave, and this.
Where did it hit?
Nikki knows facts. Mr. Producer, throw the cut up.
Where does tsunami hit?
This one
You're
hit
going to see
Boston.
This is in Boston. A Boston tsunami.
Tsunami?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is in 1919.
A lot of
I'm gonna
people
let
don't know
Nikki go
about
to
this.
it.
Wow.
Cut number 13, sir.
So, yes.
How fast can molasses move? Tell us in the comments, in the chat.
Oh,
How
wow.
fast do you think this molasses was moving?
I thought molasses.
I don't-
Tell me what you think.
Moved as slow as molasses.
Tell us in the chat. How fast do you think this wave of molasses was flowing? A wave of molasses.
I thought molasses moved slow.
It depends on when it is, and it depends on what temperature it is.
What is that saying? As slow as molasses in
January.
January.
I have a
Pretty
guess for
thick
30
stuff.
miles per hour. We're
Could
cooking.
be
We're
under
cooking.
certain circumstances for
Yep.
sure.
And I guess it depends on if you're up north or in the south.
That's
huh?
correct.
Well, Boston's in the north.
Yeah. So we're going to go to Boston in 1919. And at that time, and even today, in most cabinets, you will have this molasses. But today, in 1919, it became a deadly killer. So we have our picture there of the Boston Harbor.
14.
There you go. Located in the north end of the Boston, Massachusetts, was a company called the Purity Distilling Company, and they stored and processed molasses that came in on the ships. Molasses, of course, can be used for a sweetener, as we know, but also it can be fermented and used for munitions and alcoholic drinks.
Oh.
I bet you didn't know that.
No.
Yep.
For
Yeah.
munitions?
Munitions.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Now, this molasses, go
know
to
how that is.
picture 2. Molasses was kept, now, this is not the storage tank, but I just put a picture up there of what a storage tank looks like. The molasses was stored in a storage tank that was 50 foot high and 90 feet in diameter. It held 2.3 million gallons of molasses.
So pause.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big.
So ZHAP just guessed 35. Winner, chicken dinner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
35 miles per hour is what it was. Keep
We've got
going.
a virtual gift card coming.
We have
to you.
30. Be careful what you say.
So
It's virtual. It's worthless.
it would take 2.3 million gallons of water to fill 3.5 Olympic-sized swimming pools.
Of molasses.
Now, they kept this in
50
the story.
feet.
Yeah.
No, grab hold of that for a
So
moment.
it's this processing tanks. And by the way, this is where I do think there's a little bit of an argument for some regulation. Because
A lot of regulation in this situation, because I have something else to tell you about this.
keep going.
This storage tank would leak. and people would bring cups and bowls and get a little molasses to take back home.
Why wouldn't you?
And the company didn't like this.
And make their own munitions?
No.
No, probably alcoholic beverages. The company didn't like it, so they painted the tank brown, the same color as molasses, to try to prevent people from seeing where it leaked.
Oops.
Now, anybody today knows that if this is leaking, this is a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're thinking. This has got to be a problem. Well, on January 14th in 1919, they took warm molasses. Now, this is in January in Boston, up north. They took warm molasses and they added it to the tank and they filled it to the brim. And they did this a lot of times because when they were going to process molasses, they wanted it to be thinner.
Wanted it to flow.
It wanted it to flow. Now, the problem, here's another warning sign, is they only filled this tank 4 times to the top. And it would groan and make all kinds of noise, like
Probably the temperature delta from the Boston winter and the warm molasses in this 1.2 million gallon tank.
Well, the
2 million
wood
gallon tank of molasses.
squeaking and
So-
moving.
And that's a key point right there, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
You nailed it. When we think of storage tanks, we think today of metal. That's not what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This is wood, and
no, this was metal.
This is metal. No.
a metal tank
Yes.
Yes.
is
Yes.
groaning.
Yes. Right before it ruptures. And this is the big molasses flood
Really?
of 1919 in Boston.
There's no way.
Keep going. Yes.
Yeah, so
I'm having a hard time with this story now.
on January 14th, the day after
look it
this
up.
happened,
I will.
it was warm for that time in January, and the tank explodes or splits. We're not
Ruptures.
sure.
Yeah.
And the molasses was moving at 35 miles per hour. Now think about this. This is 50 by 90, and it was as high or higher than a 2-story building. And it came like a tsunami. It wiped out buildings. It took buildings off their foundations. It plowed over people. It plowed over animals. And
Did people drown?
Yes.
yeah, well, they didn't drown. They suffocated.
Yeah.
The molasses was 4 feet deep in the street. Now, of course, it's out in cold weather. So what is it going to do?
Slows down and congeals.
One witness said that as you're looking over it, you could see forms trying to come up out of the molasses, and they didn't know whether it was a human or
Or
an
an animal.
But they were trapped, and you couldn't go. It's 4 feet of molasses. How do you walk out to get them?
You can't, because every time you put a foot down, it gets stuck. Oh my
Did you
God.
put
Yeah,
up
and you
picture
can't
3?
swim in that stuff.
Yeah. Go ahead
You know what I mean?
Go ahead and do a picture 3 here.
and then 17.
So the molasses, of course, cooled rapidly, and
You would have thought in 1919 those would have been made out of wood. You know,
No,
you know
steel.
what I mean, Charlie?
yeah.
It's steel.
So
Don't
Overthink.
overthink this. Keep going.
But I don't know.
The people of Boston moved as fast as possible to rescue people, but after 4 days and the situation they were in, they canceled it. Now, you guys, all of us have, on this panel here, worked during Harvey, after Harvey. The floodwaters came, but the floodwaters receded. The molasses did not recede.
it's going to stay there.
It stays there. And so the cleanup took several weeks, several hundred people to do it. They had to use salt water and sand, and it was to clean up the mess, okay? Now, I want you to think about this. One guy said, you go in there, and within 5 minutes, your clothes, your boots, and all your tools are sticky because of this molasses. I can't even put my mind to it to walk in there and try to clean this up.
It's going to be a long time before you get any sort of, you're going to have fermentation. You're going to have all sorts of mess.
So here's a couple of I read 2 places. One said the tank ruptured because of thermal expansion. They put the warm molasses in there. It was filled to the brim. And the next day it was warm and the tank gave. Another reading part where I read was, no, the tank just ruptured from the pressure and just gave way. So, of course, this was one of the first lawsuits that was launched in Boston during this time. Do you have the newspaper article
First
up?
class action lawsuit.
Yes.
Is the, yeah.
And of course, the company came back and said, "Oh no, somebody blew up our tank." That's what they're, and we're not responsible. Somebody blew up our tank. We're not responsible. However,
No, you're responsible.
the evidence came back, and they had to change their statement.
Jeez.
21 people died, several animals. They did pay $7,000 per victim, which today equals $100,000. Not enough. Not enough.
Yeah.
Nikki's
Not
ticked.
even.
I'm not happy about that at all. So after the investigation, it revealed that the tank walls were 1/2 thick as it should have been. It was partly constructed from brittle material, and no basic safety test was done during the construction. There were numerous warning signs that were ignored. So as you
Not
brought up,
surprised.
as Steve brought up at the beginning, slower than molasses in January, this is where it comes from.
No,
30.
I just fact checked that.
I researched that yesterday.
That's interesting. Where did you get that? Because I would like to look that up.
So,
That's not what I just found.
okay, well, that's what I found in a couple things yesterday.
Okay, go ahead.
It was just the saying, slower than molasses in January.
I've always thought that was a common phrase that was just used. So
Of course, this happened in January. It was cold.
I was going to
It
say,
was slow.
it was close. It slowed down 35 miles per hour. Now, Arbalest 47 was the next closest guess at 30 miles per hour.
What was the
30
what was the other one?
30 and 45. 35. 30 and 35, respectively. 35 is correct.
You know, it's interesting how the mess was when we cleaned up after Harvey.
I remember.
I mean, it was
Horrible.
horrible
very
mess
hard.
when we were cleaning
But there was no water.
people's homes.
We weren't dealing with water. We were just dealing with ruined material.
Right.
And then you have a gelatinous molasses mass.
And that's really a good way to word that.
It's going to be horrible. So
Do you know they said, though, that for several years afterwards, when it was warm, you could still smell the molasses in the air.
that case actually was the
Imagine.
first big class action lawsuit, multi-million-dollar class action
Should have been.
lawsuit. And it should have been. And it really changed a lot of tort and formed a lot of tort laws and a lot of thoughts on tort. It was one of their first large-scale losses due to a company creating an industrial disaster. So very, very interesting story. Now, we're going to do, in just a little bit, stay with us for a little bit longer, because we're going to do the Great Divorce, Chapter 11. We're going to do the end of it. But we're also going to get into a new segment. I don't have a stinger yet for it. It's relationship advice with Charlie, Nikki, and company, where we're going to go through Reddit and look at some of the most depraved stories that we can possibly find. And we're going to have some fun with them,
Really
including Am I
interesting
the A-hole? And also relationship advice. So hang out for just a little bit. But for now, Mr. Producer, if you can pull up the next cut, it's going to be cut number 20. The Great Divorce, Chapter 10 is where we left off. Middle of Chapter 10. Next cut, Mr. Producer. We're going to go a quick overview. For those of you who are just joining us, C.S. Lewis, author of the Chronicles of Narnia, wrote an allegorical book, The Great Divorce, on a representation of a type of heaven and hell, or purgatory, as they might be if the judgment wasn't final, but rather parole was available and God allowed the distance of hell to holiday on the edges of heaven. Would they see the beauty and majesty and be wooed by the angelic and glorified representatives of heaven calling out to them? Kind of a purgatory-esque system. But we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Near-death experiences, there is this moment, and before to be absent from the body, to be present with the Lord, but how long between the time that your heart stops beating in the time that you separate from the body? How long is that? We don't know. Lewis is kind of playing with the idea here. He went through great lengths to say that this is not his view. This is not his religious understanding. However, what if God in his sovereignty allowed you years, millennia even, effectively, in that space? Even if God did that, would you still choose him? Seeing heaven and hell. Some people would still choose hell. Today, however, we're looking at a thought experiment of the issue of lustly passions versus the corrupt motherly love. And we talked about a mother last week. We read from a mother who was more in love with the idea of being a mother than she was with her son. And this is what kept her from accepting the fact that her son was the Lord's and she too could be. Today, we're going to look at a slightly different issue. Next cut, Mr. Producer. The theme of chapter 10 is the submission of the soul. Next cut, please. Today, we see this idea that perhaps you have this easier reclamation of a man who's in lust rather than a woman who's in a perverse love. The man's lust is personified in this chapter as a lizard, and we see this as the man's passions, and these can become a good thing, but to do so they must first die. Only then can this person and their passions be reborn to something beautiful. It may be easier to save the lustful party animal than it is to save the sweet little old lady. In the end is C.S. Lewis's thesis here. So he does a good job writing it. Let's go ahead and dive in, and then pause me, Charlie, or Nikki, or Steve, if you have a thought and you want to commentate. So, starting, the narrator starts off with this. I saw coming towards us a ghost who carried something on his shoulder. Like all the ghosts, he was unsubstantial. The idea here is that you're not fully really real until you are in heaven and you become more like Christ. So you're like a whisper. He was unsubstantial, but they differed one another as smokes differ. Some had been whitish. This one was dark and oily. What sat on his shoulder was a little red lizard, and it was twitching with its tail like a whip and whispering things in his ear. As we caught sight of him, he turned his head to reply to the reptile with a snarl of impatience. "Shut up, I tell you," he said. It wagged its tail and continued to whisper to him. He ceased snarling and presently began to smile. Then he turned and started to limp westward off towards the mountains. A spirit. "Off so soon?" said a voice. The speaker was more or less human in shape, but larger than a man, and so bright that I could hardly look at him. His presence smote on my eyes and on my body too, for there was a heat coming from him as well as the light, like the morning sun at the beginning of a tyrannous summer day. Ghost. "Yes, I'm off. Thanks for all your hospitality, but it's no good, you see. I told this little chap," he indicated the lizard, "that he'd have to be quiet if he came here, which he insisted on doing. Of course, his stuff won't do here, I realize that, but he won't stop. I shall just have to go home." "Would you like me to make him quiet?" said the flaming spirit, an angel, as I now understood. "Of course I would," said the ghost. "Then I will kill him," said the angel, taking a step forward. "Oh, look out, you're burning me. Keep away," said the ghost, retreating. "Don't you want him killed?" "You didn't say anything about killing him at first. I hardly meant to bother you with such a drastic thing as that." "It's the only way," said the angel, whose burning hands were now very close to the lizard. "Shall I kill it?" "Well, that's a further question I'm quite open to consider, but it's a new point, isn't it? I mean, for the moment, I was only thinking about silencing it because up here, well, it's so damned embarrassing." "May I kill it?" "Well, there's time to discuss that later." "There is no time. May I kill it?" "Please, I've never meant to be such a nuisance. Please, really don't bother. Look, it's gone to sleep on its own accord. I'm sure it'll be all right now. Thank you ever so much." "May I kill it?" "Honestly, I don't think there's the slightest necessity for that. I am sure I shall be able to keep it in order now. I think the gradual process would be far better than killing it." "The gradual process is of no use at all." "Don't you think so?" "Well, I'll think over what you said very carefully, and honestly, I will. In fact, I'd let you kill it now, but as a matter of fact, I'm not feeling frightfully well today. It would be silly to do it right now. I need to be in good health for the operation. Some other day, perhaps." "There is no other day. All days are present now." "Get back. You're burning me." "How can I tell you to kill it? You'd kill me if you did." "I never said it wouldn't hurt you. I said it wouldn't kill you. Oh, I know. You think I'm a coward. But it isn't that. Really, it isn't, I say. Let me run by tonight's bus, back to hell, and get an opinion from my own doctor. I'll come again the first moment I can. This moment contains all moments. Why are you torturing me? You are jeering at me. How can I let you tear me to pieces? If you wanted to help me, why didn't you just kill the damned thing without asking me before I knew? It would be it'd be all over by now if you had. I cannot kill it against your will. It is impossible. Have I your permission? The angel's hands were almost closed on the lizard, but not quite. Then the lizard began chattering to the ghost so loud even I could hear what it was saying. Be careful, it said. He can do what he says. He can kill me. One fatal word from you and he will. Then you'd be without me forever and ever. It's not natural. How could you live? You'd be only a sort of a ghost, not as a real man as you are now. He doesn't understand. He's only a cold, bloodless, abstract thing. It may be natural for him, but it isn't for us. Yes, yes, I know there are no real pleasures now, only dreams, but aren't they better than nothing? And I'll be so good. I admit I've sometimes gone too far in the past, but I promise I won't do it again. I'll give you nothing but really nice dreams, all sweet and fresh and almost innocent. You might say quite innocent. Have I your permission? Said the angel to the ghost. I know it will kill me. It won't, but supposing it did. You're right. It would be better to be dead than to live with this creature. Then I may? Damn and blast you. Go on, can't you? Get it over with. Do what you like, bellowed the ghost, but ended whimpering, God help me, God help me. The next moment the ghost gave a scream of agony, such as I had never heard on earth. The burning one closed his crimson grip on the reptile, twisted it, while in a bit it writhed and then flung it, broken-backed, onto the turf. Ooh, that's done for me, gasped the ghost, reeling backwards. For a moment, I could make out nothing distinctly. Then I saw between me and the nearest bush, unmistakably solid, but growing every moment, solider, the upper arm and the shoulder of the man, then brighter still and stronger, the legs and the hands. The neck and golden head materialized as I watched, and if my attention had not wavered, I should have seen the actual completing of a man, an immense man, naked but not much smaller than the angel. What distracted me was the fact that at the same moment, something seemed to be happening to the lizard. At first, I thought the operation had failed. So far from dying, the creature was still struggling, and even growing bigger as it struggled. And as it grew, it changed. Its hinder parts grew rounder. Its tail, still flickering, became a tail of hair that flickered between huge glossy buttocks. Suddenly, I started back, rubbing my eyes. What stood before me was the greatest stallion I had ever seen, silvery white, but with mane of tail of gold. It was smooth and shining, rippled with swells of flesh and muscles, whinnying and stamping with its hoofs. At each stamp, the land shook and the trees dwindled. The new-made man turned and clapped the new horse's neck. It nosed its bright body. The horse and master breathed into each other's nostrils. The man turned from it, flung himself at the feet of the burning one, and embraced them. When he rose, I thought his face shone with tears, but it may only have been the liquid love and brightness, one cannot distinguish them in that country, which flowed from him. I had not long to think about it. In joyous haste, the young man leaped upon the horse's back. Turning in his seat, he waved a farewell and then nudged the stallion with his heels. They were off before I well knew what was happening. They were riding, if you like. I came out quickly as I could from among the bushes to follow them with my eyes, but already they were only like a shooting star, afar off on the green plain, and soon among the foothills of the mountains, going towards high heaven. Then, still like a star, I saw them winding up, scaling what seemed impossible steeps, and quicker at every moment, till the dim brow of the landscape so high that I must strain my neck just to see them. They vanished, bright themselves, into the rose brightness of that everlasting morning. Do ye understand all this, my son? Said the teacher. The narrator's been having a conversation with his own friend, not quite an angel, but a man who is meeting him and wooing him to heaven. I don't know about all, sir. Am I right in thinking that the lizard really turned into a horse? Aye, but it was killed first. You'll not forget that part of the story. I'll try not to, sir. But does it mean that everything that is in us can go to the mountains? All of your lusts, all of the things that are in your soul, can the base piece of that go to heaven? This is what Lewis writes further. Nothing, not even the best and noblest, can go on as it now is. Nothing, not even what is lowest and most bestial, will be raised again if it submits to death. It is sown in a natural body, but raised in a spiritual body. Flesh and blood cannot come to the mountains, not because they are too rank, but because they are too weak. What is a lizard compared to a stallion? Lust is a poor, weak, whimpering, whispering thing compared with that richness and energy of desire which will arise when lust has been killed. Harkening back to the earlier part of the chapter, but am I to tell them at home that this man's sensuality proved less of an obstacle than that poor woman's love for her son? For that was, at any rate, an excess of love. Ye'll tell them no such thing, he replied sternly. Excess of love, did ye say? There was no excess. There was defect. She loved her son too little, not too much. If she had loved him more, there would have been no difficulty. I do not know how her affair will end, but it may well be at this moment she's demanding to have him down there with her in hell. That kind is sometimes perfectly ready to plunge their soul, or the soul they say they love, into endless misery, if only they can still in some fashion possess it. No, ye must draw a different lesson. Ye must ask if the risen body, even of appetite, is as grand a horse as ye saw, what would the risen body of maternal love or friendship be?
I just think of two words, or maybe one: free will.
Free will.
I mean, it's a choice.
Free.
And it was
will.
it was a struggling choice for him to have the angel kill the lizard. He was struggling with it a little bit, but he
Not
surrendered.
a little bit, I think a lot.
But he surrendered, and I think, and look what happened. The picture is beautiful.
Yeah.
Surrendering is hard, but the end result is beautiful.
You know,
And you have to die.
Yes.
So every single hunger, every sin is a incorrect response to a God-born, God-given desire or appetite. Every sin is a perversion of what God's meaning to. When you kill the sin, the beauty that God put in you can grow out of that.
you know, there's a number of people that come to Christ late in life, like myself. I didn't come to Christ until I was 48. It wasn't difficult for me. Man, I was like, get out of my way, get out of my way.
Yep.
But some people, during that time, when they've made that conversion, still have a hard time making that transfer into the life of being a Christian. And that's what I'm seeing here with this guy. He's having a hard time.
He's having a hard time submitting.
Exactly.
We all go through this in some way, shape, or form, right?
Absolutely.
He doesn't want to leave that life
It's
behind.
like the boy in the clearest, simplest, distillment of this is you've got the young man who has a porn addiction. And I was just having a conversation with a really good friend of mine, and he was telling me, and I'm going to share a story, but not his name. He said he's been X amount of months, it's a year and change, almost 2 years. He's been outside of porn. He says, I came to the realization after I stopped, my love life with my wife of 10 years is deeper. We've grown more. all of a sudden I realized how precious and beautiful the marriage bed is, because I cut off and I killed what I thought was helping me physically last longer and do these other things in bed. And he was doing partly for that reason. At least that's
his
the justification,
excuse.
right? The
Yeah.
justification in the mind. And he said, "That's my justification." He goes, "The brain does terrible things. You justify things." He said, "But now that I've killed that, my life with my wife is so much richer, so much more beautiful, more vibrant. We have a stronger relationship more than ever." He had to kill the lizard that was on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And then once you kill that lizard, it's interesting. The same desires, when properly fulfilled, are less of a squibbling lizard, and they are a mighty, beautiful gift from God that'll carry you places.
And
you've
I
never
think
gone before.
that there's some beautiful hope in that. And the hope is this: for those that have gone through infidelity situations in their marriage, there's hope there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, don't misunderstand me. Trust has been broken. Got that. But what do you want in the end? You want the relationship to work. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about some of that in just a moment. And, for me, when you look at situations like this, knowing that there can be some good and some strong upside when you get through it, it really does a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's some good in sharing that story there.
So speaking of relationships, I don't have a good stinger for this just yet, but we're going to do a new relationship advice with Charlie and Nikki.
We need to
company.
Come up with a good name for that.
We'll have a good stinger for it as well when we get it all set up. So today we're going to look at a couple of different Reddit relationship issues. So I figured this would be kind of fun because, when I am feeling really good and I'm happy and I need to bring myself down a little bit, I want to bring in some suicidal ideation and just kind of, just bring down my day. I get on Reddit. And it just really helps with the happiness in my life and brings in some glorious depression and loss of hope for humanity. So today we're going to start off with
Give me my antidepressant
As a matter of
pills.
fact,
I'm gonna
I'd like
get on Reddit.
I'd like to know how many of our listeners actually get on Reddit.
Okay, so
I'd be interested.
Let us know how if you guys read on Reddit at all. But we're going to start with "Am I the a-hole?" And I've got one, so I'll start off reading this one. If you want to get the next one ready, start off with "Am I the a-hole for telling my husband if he forces his daughter to go to school with poor hygiene as punishment, I will divorce him." So, if you could pull that one up, Mr. Producer, and just drop it in down here on the screen somewhere.
Which one is it?
It's going to be, "Am I the a-hole for telling my husband if he forces his daughter to go to the school with poor hygiene as a punishment, will I divorce him?" So, 41 female, have a daughter, teenage female, from a previous relationship, and my husband, 35 male, has a daughter, 13 female, from a previous relationship. My stepdaughter has been the near perfect child for a long time. She has never needed to be punished since I met her father until recently. She had a problem with another girl, 13 female, at school. The girl made fun of my stepdaughter's quote-unquote lesbian mom, and my stepdaughter made fun of the other girl's quote-unquote poor mom. So a little bit of a tit for tat on the playground. The parents of the other girl grounded her for 3 weeks. My husband wanted his daughter's punishment to match the crime. Since his daughter made fun of the other girl's financial situation, my husband wanted his daughter to feel like how it is to be extremely poor. The other family isn't extremely poor, by the way. His plan for his daughter is to go to school with poor hygiene for 3 days. No shower, no deodorant, no brushing teeth, and reused clothes. I told him if he goes through with this plan, I will divorce him. Am I the a-hole?
Well, first off, divorce is pretty extreme. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, just you may be poor, but that doesn't mean you don't have hygiene. So his ideas is just it's ridiculous. And she was a good girl. She had a moment where because it said she was a good girl. So this would be something as a conversation. This is a conversation. This is not, if this girl had a history of being naughty, this girl got caught up in the moment. She had somebody say something about her mother. That's very deeply hurting. She wanted to hurt back. That's very normal.
We used to beat each other's brains out on the,
Hello?
on the playground.
Yeah.
with
Hello?
that.
Hey,
we used to
but
fight
you
it.
know something? When guys did that, what did they do afterwards?
Shook
they were
hands.
usually best friends
Yes.
after
Shook hands,
that.
became buds.
Girls, they get in a fight,
It's
they're
drama.
enemies for life.
Drama.
I'm telling you.
So that's my opinion.
Charlie, who's
So,
the a-hole?
I mean, hey.
There's no way that I'd be threatening divorce. That's terribly immature.
Tell us, chat, who's wrong? Steve?
I think she's wrong. Maybe do something to punish your child, you know, in some way or another, but not taking a shower for 3 days. Hey, I've done some not showering for numbers of days before because I've gone on hunting trips, and
You want to stink.
man, when you get back
It's
into
nice.
civilization, you are ready to shower,
It is
buddy.
nice.
I'm telling you, you're looking for a clean puddle.
So, Mr. Producer, who's the a-hole? Wife or husband?
Honestly, I wasn't paying attention to the first part. I was doing.
Oh,
producer
man.
things.
You're professionally doing
He was
this.
doing
Golly.
He's busy
I'm gonna
producing.
say
And
this.
he's even got earbuds.
I'm going to say this.
Man.
Both of them are the a-hole. You are both. Congratulations. You are both the a-hole. First off,
I need
Going
an
a
applause
week?
sound effect.
going a week. Yes, you do. You have one somewhere. Going a week without hygiene is not that bad. I'm sorry. It's not that deep. For anyone who's actually done wilderness work, who's
Okay,
worked
we're
out in the
talking
wilderness,
about girls.
you've gone for a week. Okay, it's not a big deal.
Done
It's fine. I've gone with girls, and,
That may-
and believe me, I could
3
smell
days
them,
is no big deal.
and I could smell them. I have camped and hiked with women who did not bathe for 3 days.
Can't 3 days isn't that
can
big
be
a deal,
done.
really.
Can be done. First off, the husband's, I believe, is disproportionate. I believe that he and if he's not willing to work it out with his wife and to come to some understanding, I think that it is disproportionate. I think that they definitely need to have better communication. If your marriage is on the line because you cannot effectively work out one disagreement with your husband,
You're in trouble.
that was a bad marriage. By the way, you're both remarried. You're both wrong. Next one.
Should know better.
You're both wrong.
both
I'm sorry.
wrong.
So I don't know if you meant to skip this one.
Take it.
All right. So this
is the gym one, Mr.
This is the gym.
Pull up the gym.
Am I the a-hole for telling a woman at the gym that she's embarrassing herself? This is an interesting little story here.
This is an update.
Yep. I'm going to actually read the first part.
Go for it.
A woman at my gym, Andrea, fake name, asked me out after some normal, not at all romantic interactions. I turned her down, and shortly after, I started getting a weird vibe from her and started avoiding her. She confronted me about avoiding her twice, and the second time I said she was embarrassing herself, after which she put her foot on the weight stack of the machine I was using, causing me to let go of the bar really quickly and slam the weights. I initially thought I was the a-hole for my rude comment, and most posters said I actually underreacted and should talk to gym management, which I did. After which Andrea confronted me again and asked me out again. I turned her down. We argued briefly, and she said I needed to grow up. Here's the update. Andrea is banned from the gym. I was running on the treadmill and watching TV. She came up to talk to me, and I ignored her, staring at the TV. She raised her voice, and I continued to ignore her. She reached out and pulled the safety tab out of the treadmill, the one you connect to your wrist so the treadmill stops if you fall, causing the treadmill to come to a sudden stop. I tripped and fell onto the controls and TV, scratching my chin on the top of the screen. I went to the front desk with Andrea following me. I told them what she did. She kept trying to interrupt me and talk over me, but the woman at the front desk told her to be quiet and wait her turn. I told her Andrea pulled out the safety tab while I was running, and it injured me. The woman at the front desk then asked Andrea what happened. Andrea said I was staring in the middle distance like I was in some kind of fouage state, whatever that is, and she thought I was having a medical episode. So she pulled the tab. The woman at the front desk asked for her membership card. Andrea didn't want to give it to her, but the woman at the front desk said if she didn't, she would ban her. Andrea gave her the card, and the woman at the front desk said to leave, and she was suspended for a month. Andrea objected and got into an argument with the woman at the front desk that escalated into Andrea calling the woman an N-word, B-word, so she was banned
The N-word and the B-word.
permanently. I hesitate to call that a happy ending because the poor gym employee had to put up with racial harassment, but I won't deny getting to watch her cut up Andrea's membership card felt
So
good.
fouage is a dissociative state where you are not connected. It wasn't fouage. It was just tired of your advances, your sexual advances.
She was aggressive, and if a guy was aggressive like that, that would be
Immediate imprisonment.
Yes,
That's called assault and battery.
She was very aggressive, and
You are not the a-hole, sir or
Yeah.
ma'am. I for some reason I got the impression this was a woman.
I
don't know if this is a woman or a man, but I got the impression that this author was a woman.
She's blessed not to be in jail.
Yeah.
Well, it could be two women.
That's
You
what I
never
thought.
know.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think it is two women.
I think that whoever is asking the guy out, they are the a-holes.
Yeah. The person,
Whether-
Andrea is the problem.
Whatever their sex is,
Yeah,
Yep. Andrea
and
is
however
the
many
problem.
it is.
that's
So
right.
For right now, I want to move on to the next one for relationship advice. So this is, I gave my husband an ultimatum about his hobby. How do we move forward? So I gave 37-year-old female, gave my husband, 39-year-old male, an ultimatum about his hobby. How do we move forward? Now, first, I do have to say something real quick. If you are on Reddit and you were writing your personal tea out on the internet, you are automatically the a-hole. But you're also, but we're going to try to figure out this.
Oh, John Arthur, you know what I need?
What?
I need that sound effect from Knives Out when Marta calls ransom. Actually, I'd have to beep that out. Never mind.
Yeah, next one. Go, bring it up, buddy. You have to come up with your own sound effects. Send Mr. Producer some sound effects. But yeah, the fouage
The
state.
problem is there's so many I could do. I don't know which ones to
Fugue.
Make a choice.
Fugue state. Melissa Perry says it's actually the fugue state.
Fugue.
That's how you pronounce that.
Fugue?
Fugue.
Okay.
Fugue
All right.
state.
I learned
'Cause
something.
I've
Thank you,
heard of the
guys.
fugue state, but I've never seen it spelled out.
I've
so
been in a fugue state before.
I had to
just
look it
saw
up. Okay, so Mr. Producer has it up. I'm going to go ahead and read this. Spouse and I have been married for 15 years, and we have 3 kids under 10. Oof. We've both always been into fitness, but my husband's always looking for ways to do more. Last year, he trained for and completed his first triathlon. We are all pretty proud of him and glad that he had the experience, but the training really kind of sucked for us at home. He spent over 3 months working out for nearly every day. It was incredibly time consuming. He spent hours every day. He's wanting to do another one, so I'm kind of skipping down. When she said that she really didn't think that she could do that, and if he's going to continue to do this, she's going to part ways with him. She doesn't want him to do more. She's going to divorce him if he keeps doing this. He was incredibly upset and indignant, told me I was unsupportive and trying to sabotage him. He said it was unfair to make that demand, that if I was dating someone, I would never ask them to quit their hobby. And he's right. I wouldn't, but I would still absolutely peace out because their hobby is incompatible for the life that I'm looking for. I didn't really feel like I was even making a demand. I was just stating the fact that it was really hard to support the family alone while he trained, not coming home. Okay, he wasn't at home. And I couldn't see myself doing it forever if he wanted to become a triathlete. Even though it was quote-unquote unsupportive on paper, I feel like the most supportive thing I can do in the situation is to step away and let him do whatever he wants to chase his dreams. He eventually agreed to stop triathlons because quote-unquote we're the most important thing to him. But it's been months and he still finds ways to make snide comments about it and bring it up out of the blue if we argue. I can't tell if he's feeling resentful or if he's trying to get me to feel bad and change my mind about it. At any rate, I still feel the same way and there's no chance I'm going to change my mind. How do we move forward from here?
Well, that's a hard one. So, number one, let me just say this. If you guys can't spend time together, you're in a rough way to start. This is why Hollywood relationships don't last, because one is in New York and the other one's in Hollywood. And they got married and everybody on the internet's going, yay, yay, yay. And all of a sudden, 2 years later, they're devastated because they quote unquote got divorced. First of all, you shouldn't be following Hollywood relationships. They don't work.
Yep.
It's rare. It's rare, and you can see why. This story here is kind of pointing to that. Number 2, I don't think it's a lot to ask. Look, training for a triathlon takes time.
Yeah.
We're not talking about having a guys' night once a week, and I'm not
4 hours
advocating
a
this.
day.
Yeah, this is a very heavy time consuming thing, and I don't think she's wrong for asking him, look, you got to give me some kind of structure to this thing, because what she's looking for, and men, you should always remember this. A woman is looking for security. She's looking for that companionship. When you're talking with a woman and you get into a conversation, what do men talk like? They talk headlines. I want the newspaper article headline. What does a woman want? She wants the article. She wants details. She gets joy in that. She wants to talk to you. Nikki still gets irritated with me from time to time because I don't talk enough. You've got to learn to communicate on that level that is amenable to both. And I think what she did there in terms of trying to express her concern, I think she's right. Now, did I hear you bring up the divorce word in there?
Yes, she said she was going to leave him.
Okay, that right there, here's the other thing, and you must choose your words carefully.
Choose your battles. And what
choose your battles and choose your words carefully, because what you've done is you put a line in the sand. You laid it. And if you don't adhere to it now, what does that make you look like in the future?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that when you get riled up about these kind of things, that you're really careful and you think this through. Last thing, and then I'll let Nikki contribute here. You can't keep bringing this up. Shut your mouth. Love does not keep a score of wrongs. Leave it alone.
Move on.
Move on. You either move on, or if you're digging it up, it's not settled. Not settled. Go ahead.
He's having a midlife crisis. That's what it's called.
You know what?
Absolutely.
I agree.
He's having a midlife crisis. He's trying to accomplish something. He's 39. He's feeling the weight of his youth leaving him. He's trying to accomplish something. The problem is that why don't you miss your wife and your children? Why don't you want to be home?
That's the real issue.
So he probably needs some counseling to help him overcome that.
I don't know if he needs counseling, but his wife, if she would have talked to him like that, might have helped him see it.
Yeah, and I say counseling because I think it helps when you can talk through what you're feeling, and somebody that may have already gone through it can help you walk through it a little bit easier. His snide remarks is because he's still feeling that loss of youth behind him, and he feels the need to go out and accomplish something. And so he's having a midlife crisis.
He's a child, and she is not capable of articulating herself like an adult.
Yeah.
She is not articulating herself like an adult. She could easily say, I feel as though you've abandoned the kids and I.
Yeah.
And you have, and why? Why are you leaving me at home alone with the kids? We have young kids. Why don't you want to spend time with them? Why are you off doing this? What do you have to prove? You have a family here who thinks you're a hero. Why are you leaving? Apparently she didn't say that. Apparently she just said, sorry, if you keep doing this, we're going to part ways. You just put a price tag on the relationship. I value the relationship this much. If you don't hit this bar, the relationship is worth that little.
I think Melissa Perry's on the chat here. Do not give ultimatums to loved ones unless they're bringing great harm through abuse or violence. That's a good word.
You know, I believe that the guy is making these snide comments because he's forced to have to make a decision. Mm-hmm. And he's and it's not to choose between two things. He's forced to have to make this decision.
Don't back people
this particular decision, because if he doesn't, he ends up here, which is a divorce, which apparently he doesn't want because he's making this decision to not get divorced.
Yeah, she should.
So he's making the snide comments.
What she did is she threw out a rope to hit him in the head, and a divorce, get your attention. Where she could have said, "I think you're having a midlife crisis, and I think we need to sit down."
About this.
Yeah, and now
She's
maybe
willing to
she
divorce.
did, maybe she did, and he ignored her because there's a lot of selfishness in marriages today.
Yeah.
You know, you have
I
to
agree.
build your career. You have to do this. You have to do that, and then you have to go back to a family unit. So there's a lot of struggles for people. I understand that.
I think one of the things, though, that I think women could really benefit from here, in I'm not advocating the woman is totally off here. I absolutely get where she's coming from. Men need to conquer. That's what God created them to do. And I think Nikki's point, I think that's really perceptive on her part to see what this issue really is. A midlife crisis I can see that. Women, one of the things that you can do to help your man along, support him in conquering. Now, don't get me wrong. I did not contradict what's going on here. I did not. He wants to conquer through a triathlon. The way that Nikki would go about this is, Charlie, I know you want to really accomplish this in terms of triathlons, and you do great at it. It's tearing down our family at the moment. Is there something else that we can conquer? Can I support you in, that I can push you in and allow you to get that victory that you're really wanting to get? That's where the conversation would go. And that's the right kind of conversation to have.
I don't think women realize that their superpower is being able to manipulate men just the way you just said it. And it's not a bad manipulation. If you say, look, let's take this very, very valuable drive and let's discuss this because I don't see this helping our family. How can we focus in a different direction?
Yeah. You can do that.
Talk that way to your man, and your guy's going to go, oh. It's going to take him off.
There's nothing that is more encouraging than a wife's support in a major endeavor for a man.
And just
Man, you are not kidding, Charlie.
I'm telling you. And it's one of the things that I appreciate so much about Nikki. Even something as simple as teaching Bible study. Guess who my biggest cheerleader is? It's her.
Yep.
Right there.
And I mean, it's just incredible. Yep. So if there was one thing that I could encourage the women to do, look to do that. And men, can I encourage you in this? If you're sacrificing your family for your personal gain, you're out of line. You're out of line. And you need to fix that.
Yep. So make sure that the marriage bed is sacred, undefiled, and also that it's valuable. I mean, part of being sacred is that it's valuable.
Yep.
It needs to be something that is protected.
Love what Melissa said there. Being married is hard work. You go through so many levels.
Absolutely.
Together. And she's right.
She's dropped a couple of bars, including, I loved the one she started off with, hey, why do all these people air their stained, I know what it's stained with, laundry out for everyone else to see, to dry out in the world? I agree, but kind of here, and it's for our benefit. We can benefit from it in this way. I think we can think through this and think about how we converse with people. Unfortunately, if you're open enough, you have people air their dirty laundry to you all the time. Ask me how I know. So I become the public spittoon oftentimes. That happens. Guess what? You can be a blessing in someone's life if you think through some of these things. So I got one last one for you. This is the final. Am I the a-hole? Mr. Producer, you can pull this up. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that I already knew that he cheated on me?
Oh, man.
Okay. A week and a half ago, I was on his phone to order something on Amazon. There was a notification from a number I didn't recognize. I clicked on it, and there were months and months of flirty texts, inappropriate pictures, and she even asked him to come to her apartment a few times. I knew I couldn't stay with him because he was a cheater, obviously, but I couldn't break things off immediately. We have 3 kids. 5, 1-year-old, and 2-month-old. I didn't want him to get to have the kids because we signed a prenup. He had some money, wanted to protect it, so I was scared the judge would give him custody because he can afford to take care of them better. But the prenup had a clause where it's dissolved if he's unfaithful. I wasn't going to do anything crazy. I just wanted to find a lawyer before mentioning anything to him. But yesterday he told me about the cheating, and I apologized. I told him I already knew about it. He got mad at me for not telling him sooner. He told me that I was ruining our family by keeping secrets from him. Okay, like hypocrite much. But anyways, now I'm wondering if I should forgive him since he came clean. Because he came clean first. He did try to come clean. I still want our kids to grow up normal. I don't want a broken home for them. If he was willing to tell me and apologize, could we still make things work? Am I the a-hole for not telling him sooner? Would I be the a-hole for divorcing him after he told me about it? So, 2 things. You are definitely not the a-hole for being gracious and letting him have the opportunity while you look for a lawyer. The fact that you're willing to even consider the marriage continuing, even after he tried to gaslight you, he is the a-hole on all fronts there.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be the a-hole if you left, but if you could manage to keep it, your children will do a lot better.
Oh man,
your children
this
will
is
do
a
a lot
hard
better.
one.
You have to think about it.
I would let him know. First off, he's a manipulator because he said you're keeping secrets from me. Second, I would say, well, guess what? I'm going to stay, but that little prenup is going away because you've already broke it. So
if you do this again,
I would let him know you've broke the prenup. I'm staying, but the prenup is going away.
Yeah.
Because he with him coming back and saying you're keeping secrets from me, he's trying to manipulate the situation to put blame on her. He's got a 2-month-old baby and he's already out with another woman.
It's crazy.
So she must have been pregnant when
he
was having this affair.
She's giving birth and he's porking some other woman.
And there might be
somebody that did the same thing.
It may be a one-time thing, but usually these don't turn into one-time things.
This is an extremely hard one. I'm looking at some of these comments and I can't necessarily disagree with them. I think Nikki's thought there is probably the minimum she'd have to look at doing. Mm-hmm. I think it would be wise. Here's what I appreciate about the situation, though. She wants to keep this. She's wanting to preserve this for her kids. And what you said there a moment ago, John Arthur, and we've talked about this. We've talked about the stats on this.
If you love your children, if it's possible, if he's harming you, if he's abusing you, if he's going out and collecting STDs like Pokemon cards, then leave. Okay. If he's trying to catch every snatch, leave. Okay. Got it. Noted. But if you can persevere through it, a guy or girl, I'm not just talking about women. I'm not just saying women should take abuse. Men, you look at the prophet and Gomer. You look at Hosea and Gomer. You look at what God was saying. He says, look, you're going to take a woman who's known, and that woman slept 3 times. And God said, take her back. I take Israel back every time. Take her back. Not everyone can do that. Not every position warrants that. If you can, for the sake of the children, good. But it has to be more than for the sake of the children. It has to be for the sake of the institution, for the sake of you two. Because if it's just for the children, you will fall apart. Whether it's 18 in one day or before that, you will fall apart. It has to be rebuilding.
And let me just bring this out real quick. Mrs. Texas Freedom Road. My sister lived with a demon 37 years, tore down. And that's exactly what we want to avoid as well. Yeah, that is exactly right. And all of that to say, no, she is not. Would she be okay to leave? I think she could and would.
So biblically, you're justified in leaving. And if you look, the whole purpose of the dowry, I'll wrap with this because we are on time. But I will wrap with this. Biblically, there are a lot of edgy atheists. You remember the old 2000s era YouTube atheist? They said, oh, how much is my girl worth? She's worth 2 camels. Ha ha, I'll sell her. The Bible derided women and reduced them to the cost of an animal. No. The purpose of a dowry was the man had to be stable. He had to give the woman's father something to grow wealth for the woman, so that if the man was unfaithful, the woman could run to her father's house. And that's why Rachel and Leah said, "What's Laban, our father, to us? He's already spent our dowries. He's already consumed it." So you see the failure of that, even that institution. But man is supposed to love his woman. You are able to leave. That doesn't mean necessarily biblically you can remarry. Divorce happens, and it's a sad thing. But hopefully you can work it out. With that said, we love you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day. Bye now.